This episode is presented by Playback, the Canadian film and TV industry's top source for business news and analysis. Visit playbackonline.ca for industry updates.
Canadian film and TV is at a crossroads. More talent than ever, but fewer doors open. How do diverse creators cut through the noise, get their projects greenlit by the decision makers, all without compromising the culture integrity of their story? On the DOV Elevate Podcast, we sit down with two guests who strategically navigated the pitfalls, the breakthroughs, and the mountaintop moments. The industry is shifting because culture isn't just a backdrop. It needs to be the lead. And it's time this industry treats Canadian stories as the rule, not the exception.
Hi, I'm your host, Vanessa Mitchell, and the producer of Banff Special Programs. And today I'm here with two writers who collaborated and built a show that reimagined what a Canadian legacy franchise could look like when you put a Black biracial teenage girl at the center of it. Two writers who have earned their seat at some of the most competitive tables in Canadian television, Jessica Meya and JP Larocque. Hi, guys. Welcome to the DOV Elevate Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Okay. JP, you've said that as a kid, television was like the ultimate friend. And Jessica, you've built a career around like character-driven stories. Both of you found something in storytelling very early. So what was the story on screen or otherwise that made you think this was actually a world you could belong to?
For me personally, growing up, you're queer, you're biracial, you're growing up in the suburbs. I'm not going to timestamp exactly when that was, but it was a time when, you could be quite isolated. And for me, television was this place where it was an escape. It was an opportunity to enter into a world where I felt like I belonged just through the power of storytelling, whether that world was fantasy or comedy or, drama. And I think the other thing that it did for me was, in watching these shows that were popular, I was able to talk about things in the schoolyard that allowed me to kind of avoid bullies. Like, because bullies would be like, oh, you're weird and different. And I'd be like, actually, I know about all the coolest shows. I know about all the coolest sitcoms. And I can tell you about the funniest jokes that were delivered like last night on TV. And so in a way, television became this way of me connecting with other people, both through the process of watching stories and connecting with the stories on screen, and then also using those stories as a way to build bonds with people who were different from me. And I think, at the time when I was watching TV, I didn't necessarily see anyone who was like me on any tier of identity. But I still there was something about all of those characters that I related to and connected with and said, I want to create characters like that. And maybe one day I'll have a chance to create a character who's like that and maybe looks like me and maybe has life experiences like me. So that's kind of that would be how I would answer that question. I think it's a combination of again, connecting with the stories on screen and then using that as a means to connect with people off screen.
Love that. Jessica?
Yeah, I mean, my mother named me after Jessica Fletcher because Murder, She Wrote was
That's awesome.
Yeah, at the time she was living in Italy, where I was born, and the way she learned how to speak Italian was by watching a lot of TV, and she was watching the dubbed Italian version of Murder, She Wrote. And so, thanks to my parents, I fell in love with television very early, and definitely an escape for me. And just like, honestly, for me, it was like, oh, this is what it's like to be a young girl with all the teen shows that I was watching. And this is like what it's like to be, an adult. And these are like families that I aspired to have someday. I just found television to be like, and so many art forms do this, but I found it to be just like an amazing epic medium for spreading a message and spreading great messages on a much larger scale. And so as somebody who was very aware of a lot of injustices growing up. I also, had a couple bullies here and there, and the way that I won them over was also through comedy and through my for different pop culture things. But I just knew that I wanted to try to change at least my corner of the world, and stories and telling them through television was super exciting to me as a child. I don't think I can pinpoint like one show that made me go, we can do this. I think it was just like, I had so many influences growing up. We were watching everything from Frasier to The Sopranos to like Fresh Prince to like all like just the golden age era.
Yes.
Comedy, especially like Black comedies that were coming around my childhood, and also just like epic prestige drama. And I have to thank my parents for that, because they absolutely loved television, they loved film, and they loved actors, and it's their fault that I'm here.
It's amazing growing up in the 90s. I mean, sometimes you look back at like, there's that where it's like, oh, we got to watch a lot of great shows, but some of the shows, it's like, I don't think I should have been watching that show. Like,
oh no, my parents were like, you need to watch this. This is history. This is storytelling. And it was like a Martin Scorsese film. And I'm like, I can't watch Mean Streets at 7.
We were watching everything.
I feel grateful for that though, because I do think like for me, it's like I remember coming home from school, like I was kind of like a latchkey kid who would like, we'd have the key, would come, we'd like make lunch for ourselves. I lived around the block from my school, and I remember my sister and I would watch like the Twilight Zone, like we're talking like old school reruns, and
Wow.
like but then again, yeah, like X-Files, Twin Peaks, like things that kids definitely shouldn't have been watching.
X-Files.
But I think like I don't know, like I feel like as much as I recognize content should be reflective of who the audience that's watching it, I also think you learn a lot about other experiences that aren't your own sometimes when you move out of certain genres, or you move into something that's a little bit older than you. So I appreciate watching things I shouldn't have.
It helped.
It helped.
Create the career you have now.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so Jessica, you founded Working the Scene in Color, and to be an advocate for writers of color in the industry. And JP, you've talked openly about feeling like there was no pathway for you in this industry as someone who is queer and biracial. And you eventually decided to self-produce Gay Nerds, a web series, you created from scratch at your entry point. Both of you basically decided that if the door wasn't open, you were going to build it your own. So where did that, impulse come from? And JP will actually, Jessica, we'll start with you for this one.
I mean, I think it's honestly, it's my parents again. I mean, I'm from a long line of doers and dreamers and educators and just folks in my family who whatever problem that they've discovered, we're always kind of like, well, how do I solve this? How do I fix this? And I think maybe that's where that came from, is like watching my parents go through their struggles, but really hold to a dream for a better future, and creating that for me, my siblings, was like permission for me to like go after whatever I wanted, especially if someone said no. So when I was a kid, and it was a problem for them, but like I can't really pinpoint exactly where that started, except that I've just like ever since I was a child has always been the kind of person who never waited for somebody to something. Like
yes, girl.
No one's gonna. So I might as well do it and figure it out. So working the scene, it was easy because of that. It was easy because it was just like the one thing that was really motivating me was I had moved here from Ottawa and did not really know anybody who was interested in writing television and who looked like me and wanted to write TV. And so it was kind of an excuse to like make friends and like get to know people. And the advocacy part of it didn't really like start anything until like later for me. Like it was just not, it was really ignited by like this space that needed to be filled. And I was like, where are they? I know they're here. I know that they want to do this, and maybe we could work on it together. And I was lucky enough to meet Lewis Taylor, who's my co-founder, and Natalie Youngley, who was the founder of BIPOC Film and TV, who brought us together and was like, you two have the same idea. You should probably talk. And then an ACTRA came in with their diversity and inclusion committee. And it was just like amazing because it's like we all had the same idea for what we wanted the future to look like. And I'm really happy with what it had done for the years that it was running. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, the minute somebody's like, the door's locked, I'm like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that.
I love that. You don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
I love that. And JP, you?
Yeah, I mean,
Where did that impulse come from?
I feel, I mean, part of it is very similar to Jess in the sense that, you know, I do think in looking at my parents and looking at the lives that they have led, they were people who always, you know, despite always telling me to follow a very traditional path, they themselves, it's like, you know, the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is that they've always kind of done what has been right for them. And I think for me, I have followed in that tradition of, you know, what feels right for me. And, you know, I when I first was breaking into the industry, you know, some of the first jobs I ever had was as an assistant to producers and working as a PA and, you know, working in these different jobs. And I would observe and look at the ways in which people got material in front of producers. And, you know, at the time, especially, well, it was wild because, I mean, you know, again, without time stamping things too much, you know, the web was kind of like something that was like the digital kind of series was a little bit in its earlier days. And, but I noticed, you know, for the producers that I was working for, the ways in which scripts would come in and just pile up on their desks, and they really wouldn't look at them. Like it would be really hard to get them to read scripts. But I did notice that if you had content that you could play for them very easily, whether it was a reel or you had something that you could kind of get in front of them quickly on a lunch break, they would pay attention. And so for me, I said, well, you know, what's the way for me to do that? And I'm like, well, here is me with my, you know, quirky queer comedy that's very specific and in its point of view, and definitely something that when I was pitching, people were like, gays and nerds, how can they coexist? And I was like, listen, I'm just going to do this myself. And I had a group of friends who were in similar places in their careers, whether they were in post-production or actors, you know, again, who wanted to come together, you know, or in art department. And we decided to make this project together. And so that for me was kind of, I said, okay, you know, if there is no way for me in the traditional path, this looks like a viable opportunity to not only get noticed, but also to just do the thing, you know, as opposed to waiting for the right opportunity. I'm just going to do the thing. So, so I did it, and it really did open doors for me. So I was very grateful for that.
I love that. And I feel like that, again, that's a common, you know, ground with the two of you. It's like, I'm just going to do the thing, you know? JP, just off that, do you think that's still true now to get, you know, a project through and off the ground? Do you think it's still a method that's kind of viable in this day and age when you're trying to pitch something and get something in front of a producer?
Yeah, I mean, I will always say that, you know, it's like the most important thing that you can do as a creator is create. So, you know, it's like, as opposed to worrying about kind of like the bells and whistles of the like, okay, what is my access point? Create, nurture your voice, allow yourself to know who you are and what you want to say, because then you can find platforms and you can find ways of getting your voice out there. Now, I recognize that when I started in the industry and and the way in which I used, YouTube and Gay Nerds and what that was. I mean, even it was entirely self-financed. There were no funds for me to access. It wasn't something that was ever nominated for an award. Like, it was just kind of this, a little bit of a Wild West corner by itself, right? Like, it was over here.
Yes.
But I think that creators nowadays, whether you're a stand-up, whether you're a TikToker, whether you're a traditional screenwriter, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're, like, whatever is the way in which you tell, even a journalist, like if whatever is a form of storytelling that you use that as your means to get yourself out there, to put yourself forward, to be seen, and then have your samples, have your things ready so that at that moment, if you are able to get into the right room, if you are able to connect with the right people, you're like, and by the way, here's my medical drama. And by the way, here's my, my like prestige comedy. So I don't know if that answered your question. I think it's forever evolving, I guess is the best way to say it. I just think you have to believe in yourself and what your voice is and the best platform for yourself, because that will be the thing that will get people's attention.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think it does answer the question. I think it's just also saying, like, be ready, create and be ready for when that opportunity comes and those two things collide and hopefully it gets greenlit and something gets made. Okay. Both of you have, really navigated the path of writing for TV. Can you kind of walk us back to that moment when you felt like you had actually broken in, like, not just a job, but genuinely cross that threshold and like, okay, I'm a writer. I'm doing this,
I mean, yeah, it's a tough one because I breaking in is such a complicated because I feel like even the ones that you think from the outside perspective have broken in, I don't know if they actually feel that internally. I think that I'm consistent with there are versions of breaking in, and so the first version that came to me was my first promotion, like moving from story coordinator to story editor, and I was just promoted on the spot. And that for me was like, okay, this feels different, because the minute you cross that threshold, it's like, well, now my agent can negotiate better terms. Yeah, I don't have to take notes anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have to order lunch. It's like, like now I'm just a writer and like a full-fledged, like just, staff writer or whatever. And that was a cool moment. Like that came from one of the shows that I was working on, and it was amazing because I really didn't have any expectations. I really was just like, I'm going to learn as much as I can and do this gig for as long as I can. I obviously don't want to continue coordinating my whole life. However, it was an amazing way to also break into a writer's room. Moving beyond that was just amazing. I think moving beyond that made me feel like, okay, I think this is, I don't need to go be a receptionist right now, unless the show gets canceled. But like, thank goodness it did not. And it really helped ascend my career.
Amazing. Did you celebrate that moment?
I don't think I did.
You gotta celebrate that moment.
I think I may have shared it with a close friend and was like, this was the best ever, and then like I sat with the moment and I was like, this is really cool. Like, and the exact words were, if this show comes back in season 2, you're hired and you're not taking notes anymore. Like, you are leveling up. And that was like amazing to my ears. And so I basked in the moment, and then I was like, okay, enough, get to work. Like, let's keep going.
Banff World Media Festival thanks its DOV Elevate partner, Reelworld. Reelworld advances opportunities for Black, Indigenous, Asian, South Asian, and people of color in Canada's screen industries through professional development, the Reelworld Film Festival, and Access Reelworld, Canada's leading hiring platform for racialized talent. Learn more at Reelworld.ca.
But that's awesome. That's cool when it happens like that, because obviously you've been working so hard at that point, and then it just kind of it doesn't just fall in your lap, but it does in a way, right? But it's because of all that, that overnight success.
Exactly. It's years of no's, and it's years of like not quite finding it. And all it takes is, I mean, even when you're pitching a show, all it takes is one person to see the vision, to be like,
right.
I get what you're doing. And my boss at the time like saw that in me and I was like, yeah, great. You caught up with it and you see it. And
I love that.
Said yes to that. And that is all you need. It's just that one person who can do that for you.
Wow. Yes, you definitely touch on something super important. And I think that's right across the board of our industry. It's really that one person that believes and supports and provides that opportunity, right? Because the talent is there, especially amongst diverse creators. But it's giving that opportunity. And that's what we're also all about here, right? JP.
Yeah, I mean,
what about you?
I like, it's so funny because it's like, even with that question, I'm like, breaking in feels a lot like coming out, where it's like you're just always doing it. Like, you're like,
Wow.
here I am, I broke into the industry. Okay, now I broke into a show. Now I broke into the professional hierarchy. Now I've broken into a new genre. So it's like, and you're every room that you go into is like a new form of breaking in. I mean, for me, it's funny because it's like I had a weird kind of false start to my scripted journey, which was like, so I had, come out of film school. I had done, everything that I talked about working as a producer's assistant, working, kind of PAing on sets. I worked in reality television for a period of time and casting and in development.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, to me, I was like, I wanted to always screenwrite. I wanted to be in a writer's room. This was what I always wanted to do. But to get there was just there were so many gatekeepers, there were so many challenges. It was just hard to break in. But I was like, I'm going to be as close to this process always as I can be. So I was doing that. But my very first actual offer for a writer's room, I interviewed with a showrunner for a show, and they had really just liked my jokes on social media. They were like, oh, you're really funny on Twitter, and we like think you're really great. Is this something that you'd want to do? And I was like, here are my samples. So I was like, so I sent some samples along. They were like, this is amazing. Awesome. Come in and work on this show. Met with the showrunners, met with the team that was decided for this show for that season. We did a rewatch of the show's previous season, and they were like, okay, we're just going to be going to LA to talk to like the network at the time that was responsible for this show to see kind of what's going to happen for next season. Things went quiet, and then 2 weeks later, we got word that the network decided to cancel the show. So I was like, oh. And so to me now, I was like, okay, so I guess I'm going to take this reality television show contract that I was like, maybe I don't have to do this, but I went back to it. And then 8 months later, I was offered another opportunity to go into a writer's room, and then that took. So I do think like, there are false starts. There are opportunities that appear. Our industry is so unpredictable. So sometimes it's like something that feels real and certain doesn't happen. And sometimes something that feels ephemeral and like not a thing becomes a thing overnight. So I think for me, I've learned like breaking in can be many things. But I do think you kind of just have to have faith in yourself and just keep your head down and be like, if this is not the opportunity, there will be another one. So, yeah.
What's for you is for you, almost that saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so JP, in 2022, you wrote and produced a Heritage Minute about Jackie Shane, the pioneering transgender soul and R&B singer. And for our listeners and viewers that are outside of Canada, these are like 60-second spots that highlight historical Canadian moments. It's basically a part of all of our childhoods. So how does a writer get that call? What does it feel like to be responsible for, honestly, 60 seconds of Canadian culture, memory, and history, really?
I mean, so I just want to say, like, I felt so grateful to be involved in that particular Heritage Minute, because for me it was like Jackie Shane is such a profound figure. She was so incredible. And just to kind of give a little bit of background, just for folks who are listening, Jackie, was an American born, soul singer who had come to Toronto to live. And then for a period of time in the 60s, there was this incredibly robust scene along kind of Yonge Street, the main thoroughfare in Toronto. And Jackie had released a live album and, she was unapologetic. And at the time, when there wasn't the language to understand trans identity, when there wasn't the understanding of even queerness and this notion of what Jackie would talk about in songs, I feel, she was just doing her. And so it was, but with so much of Canadian history, so often we don't elevate our heroes. Sometimes things get forgotten, especially when they're key individuals from marginalized communities. They don't get elevated, they don't get remembered in the same way. So what happened was I'd been a huge fan of Jackie for a long time. I'd been like, there was a documentary that had come out in 2010 that I was really excited by. I loved her live album. And then Caitlin Brown from Harlow Creative, who's a producer in the industry, who I had known kind of through folks, was like, I'm in the process of applying for this minute, and, it's about Jackie, and I want to assemble a team of, queer intersectional folks to tell this story. And I was like, yes, and yes, and yes. So that was how I got involved in it. And it was amazing. It was so good. Like, I often look to that production, aside from the opportunity to tell Jackie's story and to have her be in that fabric of Canadian history. I think for me to work on a production that from top to bottom was so queer and so, and so Black and so like trans, and so just like it was everything that Jackie represented, and to be a part of that felt so huge to me. So that was that, and it was also honestly the thing that it's probably the only thing my mother understands that I've done, because she's like, the commercials that air about the historical figures, like, wow. You know what I mean, after the news. So I mean, and on that front as well, I feel very grateful to be to have been a part of something like that too. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I didn't know until I saw the Heritage Minute, to be honest. So it's, a lot of those stories are buried. So it's great when they get pushed to the forefront. So amazing.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about Macy Murdoch. How did you both get into that project?
JP.
Yes. Yeah. JP, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what had happened was I had I had worked with Shaftesbury, the company that makes Macy. I had worked with them on the television show Slasher. And I had worked on 2 seasons of it. And then a producer who had worked on the show approached me and said, hey, we're looking at potentially doing an extension of the Murdoch Mystery brand. We want to do something that's ideally in like the kids space. Do you have any ideas for kind of what that could look like? And so I walked away, and then I came up with 3 concepts, of one of which was a version of what ultimately Macy became, because Macy evolved significantly, especially once Jess came on board. But it was basically, I looked at myself and I said, as a biracial person, I often look at family photos on either side of my family, whether it's the Indian side or the French Canadian side. And I'm like, if I were to like go back in time and spend time with any family members, they would be looking at me like, who is this alien? And like, what are they like? Often I wouldn't even be speaking the same language. And so I thought to myself, what does it mean to look back at your history and be different from who you are now? How do you find connections and relationships to that? How do you understand yourself in relationship to a past that maybe you don't always entirely relate to? So all of those questions were like the seeds for Macy for me. And then I looked at, specifically within the Murdoch Mysteries franchise, it's rooted in the East Coast. And I was like, well, looking at the cultural history of Black Canadians and Africville and everything that was, I was like, it makes sense for Macy to be Black. And again, if we're talking about, the William Murdoch of it, going to be biracial. And so that was kind of where things were. And then at that point in time, Jess came on board. And I'm happy to defer to you, Jess, because yeah, it was awesome. It was so good to start collaborating on it.
I mean, it was awesome for many, many reasons. I was super excited about this extension to such a beloved and amazing brand in Murdoch Mysteries. And so to be a part of it was already something that I was like, yes, absolutely. And then, getting the call, our first conversation, JP and me, and it was just like, yes, I need to work with JP. And like, we've known each other for like years. We've always kind of sort of crossed paths and mutual friends. And so I knew at some point we were going to find ourselves working together. And it was super fun and exciting to do something that can really stand on its own, respect to its origins. And with Macy, I really saw an opportunity here to write the young version of me that or the young girl that I used to know that I did not see on television, like someone who was as curious as Macy, someone who is as brave and courageous and rode a skateboard.
Punk and playful.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, like I've never seen that before. And it was the kind of image that certainly I had when I was younger, but also just like never quite seen on the screen. And so it was really exciting to craft a character that felt familiar and also stood out and had this beautiful connection to Murdoch, and finding really cool ways to like incorporate his spirit in it was really challenging and exciting at the same time. And then there was also the aspect of writing something that also felt similar to what I was doing with Detention Adventure, which was a CBC also a CBC tween show that was just like all of my favorite Spielberg kids with it, character-driven children, but mostly children stories. And so like it felt like that energy of adventure and that energy of like just like anything is possible. We brought that into Macy, and Shaftesbury wanted that, and so like that was really fun to like really have her be an action hero too, which is like, what? Like never thought I'd see a character like this, like just do some really cool stuff on screen and be an action hero. Like that was like that's super exciting. So I was very grateful to be brought onto the project, and of course now I can't get rid of it. So.
I was I'm not even a writer, and I feel like I want to work with JP. Everybody wants to work with JP.
That's fair.
There's so many good things that we've heard about you, and people say,
and bad
so
things.
It's not surprising.
Just kidding. I'm kidding. No bad things. Hire me.
But Jessica, you know what? I love that for you. I do. I love that for you. I love that a Black Canadian writer gets to write about her experience as a young Black female. You know, how often does that happen? And sadly, that it doesn't happen enough. So I love that. I love that for you. And that you had that chance to do that. And I
think it's like also the folks we were working with were very receptive to that, right? I think creating a space where, that's really key, because you can be finding yourself in situations as a marginalized writer where you're consistently trying to explain why.
Wow. Yes.
And like
Yes.
none of
Yes.
that mattered. It was just like, we're telling a story. This is her specific story. We don't have to speak for everybody. We can just talk through this character and be clear about our themes and like what is this? Yeah, our themes and our characters' journeys and just craft a hero's journey. But she happens to be biracial, and she happens to be a Murdoch, and like all you know, it was possible because of how open everybody was to make this kind of thing happen. So like it was very an amazing and fortunate experience for both of us.
That is amazing. And that, again, is such an important piece. So shout out to all those that, made that project happen. That actually goes right into kind of the next question of the next generation. So for young writers, watching that are Black, Indigenous, queer, person of color, who is really trying to get into their first writer's room in Canada right now, give us the real truthful, side of it. What does it actually take to do that?
Yeah, I mean,
and Jessica, if you want to go, yeah.
Sorry, I'll try. I mean, content is still king. Content is still king. I think having, a very strong perspective, that's where that still matters. I think that being ready, as JP had mentioned before, for that opportunity when it comes. So make sure that you have samples in the genres that you want to write in. Make sure that you're like, they are ready. Like, they're not just like first drafts, they're like multiple drafts, and it showcases what your voice and what you can do. Don't try to write something that you think is going to get made. Write something you would love to get made, right? Something that's your favorite show that everyone needs to watch. Like, that's the space I've always operated from. And sometimes there is a lot of noise as you get into the business of like, we need this and the market needs that. But I think that it's not as authentic if it's not what you want to write. So very early in career, it's very important to know what you want to say and to just and to not wait for the door to open to if you can make it into a web series or you can make a short film, do that. Like, that will be noticed as well. I mean, that's both of our experience combined is like really finding creative ways to enter the industry, because it is different now. So that's where I would start. Like, just write well and write with your heart.
Love that. JP.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with everything that Jess said, and I do feel like what it comes down to is, this is an industry that is forever evolving, forever changing. The challenges that are presented, each and every day with every new incarnation, that comes in. I think, it's hard to give anybody one roadmap and say, just kind of follow it and do it. Do what I did, do what Jess did, do what someone else did. Because first and foremost, I think the thing that makes you stand out in this industry is your individual voice and understanding the stories you want to tell and who you are. I think is the most important piece. I think it's also, if television writing is the thing you want to do, to what Jess said, understanding the history of the medium, understanding the formats, understanding what's popular in Canadian television and being able to deliver that is important, so that, if you're coming to the table, you're like, not just like, here is my one act play. You're like, here is a screenplay that's reflective of what the market is buying right now. I think that's huge. And I do think, again, like, just the people, this is a people business. So I do think also looking to your peers, looking to the network of people around you who are doing the similar things, who are aiming in similar ways, and building a community through that is the way towards success. Because I do think this can be a very isolating and alienating career path. So you do have to find your people. And I do think, you know, like I feel very grateful. I think Jess is one of my people. Although Jess said earlier in this podcast that she can't get rid of me. But
I love that.
I do think
I have to be your people, and you have to be mine.
Yes, yeah. But I do think finding your people and using that to kind of for mutual uplift is super important. So
yeah.
Oh, I love that. Love that. And it's funny, you're, you know, finding your people and you guys end up in this same program together. But it is so true. It's finding who you can connect and work with. So before we close, I do want to just kind of turn it back to you guys in terms of we're heading to Banff in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. You know, what do you hope to achieve when you get to Banff? So let our viewers know. Jessica, we'll start with you.
Okay. Oh my gosh, so many things. I mean, I'm really looking forward to connecting with the rest of our cohort in this DOV Elevate program. That'll be really exciting, getting to know everybody. I'm really looking forward to connecting with folks and getting just a feel of like, you know, the industry's temperature at the moment. I think that I'm like ready to, I'd spoken to a friend who's also a mutual friend of ours actually, and who's a producer. And she was like, take lots of notes and tell me everything. And I was like, yeah, I am going to take a lot of notes. I'm looking forward to being, more educated and more inspired and bring some ideas forward to some folks who are looking for exactly what I have in my slate. And so that's definitely something that I'm thinking about right now and looking forward to. And of course, I'm more than a lot of things, but I'm also just super, super happy that I get to do this with one of my best friends who's on this podcast right now. And so like,
who could that be? I got a new bestie.
It's you, Vanessa.
Clearly.
Yeah, it's a new, but yes, it's also like I'm excited for JP and I because we're also working on something together as well. We have something.
There you go.
We're cooking that I'm really, really proud of, and to go with a friend is super exciting. But yeah, many things. I don't know if I answered the question right, but
you did. Is this your first Banff?
This is my first Banff.
Oh, wow.
And it's a week of my birthday.
Okay, girl. It's your time. It's your time.
Gemini Queen. Gemini Queen.
Yes.
Exactly. It's super special. So, but yeah, I can't wait to be in at the panels and everything. I just want to soak all the experience in and meet as many new faces as I can.
That's awesome. We're gonna have a time. It's a good one. It's a good one. Shaping up to be a good one. And JP, what are you looking forward to?
I mean, for me, it's, you know, and this kind of goes back to the breaking in question, but it's like, and forever breaking in. But, you know, I feel very grateful to up to this point in my career to have had the chance to work on so many great shows and, you know, to contribute to so many rooms and so many voices. And I really look at being a part of this program and being a part of this cohort and, you know, going there with Jess, like as an opportunity to level up, because again, it's like bringing my ideas to the table and being like, I am ready to showrun. I am ready to like, here are the ideas that I have. These are the shows that I think would be really great and would be, you know, more than happy to be the captain of. And so I think it's an opportunity to connect, to show people what I'm capable of, to talk about the slate, to talk about some new projects that I have cooking, including the one that Jess and I are working on together, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, it really is to elevate, Vanessa.
Mm-hmm,
to elevate oneself. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited.
That's amazing. Awesome. And anyone who's listening, producers, studios out there that are coming to Banff, you can find JP and Jessica on Banff Exchange and even message them beforehand or find them at Banff as well, to book some meetings. But thank you so much, Jessica and JP, for coming on the show today. And just great hosting you guys and having you. And I'm so excited to also party in the Rockies because there's going to be some parties too. Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And thank you, honestly, just so grateful and honored to be part of this program. And I'm really thank you to DOV Elevate for having us and for making it possible for writers and producers at our level. It's always so difficult to find these type of opportunities. So thank you so much.
And that means a lot. It means a lot to us, and it is so deserved. The 10 of you are absolutely incredible, and it's really an honor to get to do this work and to support and elevate what you do. So, yeah.
I want that pillow behind you, Vanessa.
Yes.
I want that pillow first.
I know. Oh, gosh. No pressure. Oh, my gosh. To elevate you even more.
Elevate me with this pillow.
The pillow, I want the mug, I want the throw, I want the whole thing.
all the merch, all the
merch.
This episode of the DOV Elevate Podcast is presented by Playback and is an extension of the Diversity of Voices Fellowship presented by Banff World Media Festival. If you're a mid to established level producer, director, or writer who identifies as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, the Diversity of Voices Elevate program was built for you. DOV Elevate connects exceptional Canadian screen industry talent to the global stage through Banff World Media Festival. Pitch your projects, meet the decision makers, accelerate your career, elevate your voice. Learn more at Banffmediafestival.com. All links mentioned in this episode are provided in the description below for video and in the show notes for audio.